Every 4 years, the entire world just stops. Nations get behind their teams, old rivalries flare up, and new legends are born. So today, we're going to trace the incredible story of the FIFA World Cup, how it went from this humble little tournament to, well, the single biggest sporting event on the entire planet. Let's dive in. To really get a sense of its scale today, just look at this number, 1.5 billion people. Yeah, that's roughly how many folks tuned in for the 2022 World Cup final. It's not just a big deal, it's a massive global phenomenon. But here's the thing, it wasn't always this giant spectacle. The very first tournament, it had only 13 teams, and most of them had to travel there by boat. So that's the real question, isn't it? How did we get from there to here? How did that small competition blow up into the biggest show on Earth? To answer that, we've got to go way back, right back to the very beginning, to the birth of this global dream in the early part of the 20th century. Okay, picture this. The year is 1930. The host nation is Uruguay, who were the reigning Olympic champs at the time. It was a pretty modest affair, really. Most of the teams came from the Americas. And in the end, the hosts themselves came out on top, beating their rivals Argentina 4-2 in a final that, honestly, set the stage for decades of international football rivalry to come. And things started moving pretty fast. Italy absolutely dominated the next two tournaments, winning back-to-back titles in 34 and 38. But then, well, the world changed. A devastating 12-year gap because of World War II put a stop to everything. The tournament finally came back in 1950, hosted in a nation that was about to have its heart completely broken. And that brings us to this word, Maracanazo. Now, for Brazil, this is so much more than a football match. It was a national catastrophe. They were hosting the final, they were the overwhelming favorites, and their 2-1 loss to Uruguay became this moment of profound national grief. The trauma was so deep it actually led the national team to ditch their white kits and forever adopt the iconic yellow and green shirts we all know today. But, out of that heartbreak, a new superpower was about to rise. Let's move into the next era, an era defined by one player who would completely change the game and introduce the world to O Jogo Bonito, the beautiful game. Just look at this number for a second. 17. That's how old Edson Arantes do Nascimento, you probably know him as Pelé, was when he just exploded onto the world stage in 1958, leading Brazil to its very first World Cup trophy. A teenager. And believe me, that was just the start. With Pelé at the heart of their team, Brazil built a true dynasty. They won again in 1962, and then their third victory in 1970 with what a lot of people still call the greatest team of all time. That victory cemented their status as the absolute kings of football. So as one legend's era was coming to an end, another was just getting started. The 1980s, well, they belonged to Argentina and to a man who was equal parts genius and controversy, Diego Maradona. You see, if Pelé represented the beauty of team brilliance, this elegant, incredible player, Maradona was something else entirely. He was just raw passion, a force of nature who could single-handedly drag his team to glory, which is pretty much exactly what he did in 1986. And his entire legacy, everything about him, was captured in one single game against England. First, you have the infamous Hand of God, a moment of pure cunning and controversy. Then, just minutes later, the goal of the century, a moment of pure, undisputed genius. In one match, you saw both sides of Maradona. Incredible. Okay, let's jump forward. As we move into the modern era, the tournament just transformed. The World Cup entered the new millennium as this true global spectacle. It was faster, way more high-tech, and had a commercial footprint that reached every single corner of the globe. And the tournament just started breaking all sorts of new ground. 2002 was the first time it was co-hosted, bringing Asia right into the spotlight. 2010 finally brought the cup to Africa. And more recently, we've seen game-changing tech like VAR, the video assistant referee, and even a winter tournament that saw Lionel Messi finally lift that trophy. The modern era has also given us some of the most jaw-dropping moments in sports history. I'm just going to leave this on the screen for a second. Germany 7, Brazil 1, in a World Cup semifinal in Brazil. A result so staggering it almost felt like a sequel to the Maracanazo, an absolutely astonishing scoreline nobody will ever forget. And the growth isn't stopping. Not at all. The tournament that started with just 13 teams has been at 32 for years now. But in 2026, it's expanding again to a massive 48 teams. This is going to make it more inclusive and, let's be honest, commercially bigger than ever before.
So, after this whole journey, what is the World Cup's enduring legacy? I think the crucial point is that it has become so much more than just a game.
I mean, this comparison right here really puts it all into perspective. Just think about it. From 13 teams traveling by boat to what will soon be 48. From a tournament dominated by just 2 continents to a truly global qualification process. And from a few listeners on the radio to billions watching live all over the world. The transformation is just staggering. And that's really the ultimate takeaway, isn't it? For all the drama and the competition that happens on the field, its greatest power is probably what it does off the field. It's this force for cultural exchange, bringing people together from all walks of life in a shared celebration. It really does transcend sport. Which, leaves us with one final thought to consider. In its modern, multi-billion-dollar form, is the World Cup still that pure celebration of global unity? Or has it become something else, a massive corporate spectacle? Maybe the answer is that it's both. And that complex identity is exactly what makes it so endlessly fascinating.